their scars. Our freedom is defended by the sacrifices of a courageous few. Who helps a hero? We all do. The Gary Sinise Foundation serves America's defenders through entertainment, the construction of smart homes for our wounded, and by encouraging others to support the veterans within their communities. We enjoy the benefits of their sacrifice and service each day. It's time we serve them. Find out how you can help at GarySiniseFoundation.org.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DN Mariana, WVLQ Port St. John, powered by Pepsi, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Transmission starts in 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from the Red Crib Radio Room. The Afternoon Underdogs are taking your calls live. 850-215-6290. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome into the Rib Crib Radio Room. You guys are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Also 102.1 in Mariana and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. You can give us a call or text throughout the show today, 850-215-6290. Big news out of the SEC, big news from the Braves. Alan Watson going to be joining us in the next segment. That's the owner of Golf Plus. Then Team MVP powered by eXp Realty. You guys know and love her. The coach's daughter, Leanne, will join us at 4:30, and we'll go all the way till 5 o'clock with her today. At 4:45, we'll open up trivia. 5:15, Todd Mueller joins us from PCB Coins and Cards. Then the senior writer from therebelwalk.com, Steve Barnes, will be on the line with us at 5:30, and we'll wrap it up with some local football out of high school, or some local high school football out of Pensacola and here in Panama City. We've got Brian Haddad in the building, Miles Lashley on the ones and twos. I'm David Hayes, and Leanne's here. She'll be on the mics here in a few seconds. Brian, how's it going today, man? I know that you're loving it.
I don't know which end is up. I'm kind of like Alabama during most of that football game Saturday.
Oh, so safety. Was it a safety or no?
I didn't see it. I was in the monsoon at Frank Brown Park all Saturday. That was the only reason I'm not in the hospital with a coronary. I didn't get to watch the game.
So I saw an image last night that just kind of scrolling through Facebook where it did, and I don't know if it was photoshopped or not, so I can't really get into, if it's correct or not. But it did seem like Bryce Young's elbow, and this particular picture was down before the ball was out of his hands. Now, who knows how that changes the complexion of the game, but Miles has a good point on that as well. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't complain too much because the referees were from which conference?
The Big 12. If anybody should complain, it's Texas, and they should pay their refs more if they think Alabama pays the refs.
Strong take there. So the Atlanta,
I ain't touching that one.
The Atlanta Braves, we got plenty to speculate on. We can get our opposite of Doug Gottlieb on because we're proclaiming that it's all speculation.
Yeah, exactly.
The Braves last night, though, if you were listening here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, did get the win. They beat the Giants 5-1. You got a nice pitching performance. Not a lot of innings out of him, but a big win out of Kyle Wright, who's got his 18th win on the season. Dansby Swanson with 3 RBIs last night. And on top of that, the Mets lost to the Cubs with DeGrom on the hill. So where does that leave the Braves? Only a half game behind the Mets out of first place for the National League East. And they're actually playing right now, and the score is 2-1. The Giants are up on the Bravos at the end of the 4th inning. Let's get those bats going, Atlanta Braves.
I really want to get some Mets gonna Met T-shirts made up to
Yeah,
wear every
I think the
August.
Trumpets are going to kill them.
The Trumpets is going to be
They
the
started it
Trumpet?
way too early. That's got to be a playoff-only thing.
Mets gonna Met.
Yeah, but that's specifically for Edwin Diaz, though, right? The pitcher?
So what happens when he comes out, his first playoff save, and blows it? Every Mets fan's looking around saying, this was dumb. We never should have done this. We're going to get made fun of this forever.
I mean, I'll give you but still, like, it's not like closing pitchers wait till, okay, now we're getting close to August, September. Let's start my walk-in music now. Like, no, they do that all year long. So, I love the sentiment, and I do want some T-shirts that say Mets gonna Met. That that would be
and
fun.
we can even put Judge 99 on the back of
There,
it.
there you go. And he had a couple of big blasts yesterday evening as well, which puts him up at to 57. So he's 4 away from tying Roger Maris for 61. You only have Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire are the only 3 guys in Major League Baseball, the history of Major League Baseball, that have hit more than Roger Maris. So they were talking about this on the Greeny Show today. I don't know if you were listening. If Judge surpasses Roger Maris, do you consider him the single season home run leader, or is what's in the record books Barry Bonds, is that who stands for you?
For me, it's still Bonds until it is definitively proven. Look, we can all believe what we want to believe, but until it's definitively proven, 73 is 73. And that's just the way it is. So, will judges be more impressive? Maybe. I mean, because you look at all the home runs that were being hit by the Brady Andersons of the world and everything else during that time from 98 through 2003 or 4. What Judge is doing versus the rest of the field is pretty impressive. So
Dan Patrick also said today that if the pitchers would have been pitching to Barry Bonds, he would have hit over over 100 home runs. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if it's over 100. He certainly would have hit
got
a lot
close,
more. Well, one of the most amazing stats on Roger Maris the year he hit 61. He hit 61 home runs, major league record. You know how many times he was intentionally walked that year?
How many?
None.
Oh.
Because Mickey Mantle hit right behind him.
Yeah. So why would you
You
try
don't
to
want
get
to
around?
put a guy on base to pitch to Mickey Mantle. That's insanity. So that's another one of those great stats. Now, Barry Bonds didn't have that person behind him. And look, people can think what they want about Barry Bonds, and he was a jerk, and he would probably even admit that. But before the steroid era, I think he was the best player in baseball. After he saw what was going on, and I think the baseball documentary actually did a good job of explaining that. He's watching Sosa and McGwire get all of these plaudits when they're not half the player he is.
Yeah.
So he goes, fine, guys. If that's the way we're going to do this, I'll do this, and I'll beat you at that too. And he did.
Hey, if you can't beat him, join him.
Look, he is who he is, but to deny that man's talent is foolish.
And it was not like it was just one facet of the game either. It was defensively.
He was a true 5-tool player.
Absolutely, man. Miles, any thoughts on this? How old were you when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa? Like, did you focus more on baseball at that point in time, or
I was barely alive. I was crawling.
Okay.
But I do think you got to get to that 73 mark. And I have another strong point. I think that steroids should be allowed in baseball for the right reasons of hitting home runs and getting the fans more into
for
it.
the right reasons.
But look, if they're going to do that, the pitchers get spider tack, but it would be so much more fun to watch, and all the numbers would go up tremendously across the league, TV ratings, everything.
Now, I don't know if I go there, but the way I look at it is this. Nobody on earth will say that Barry Bonds is the only person who took steroids during that era, but no one else hit 73.
That's such a great point, and you can at least make the allegation that the pitching at that point in time, maybe not spin rate wise, was better, but they were using the sunscreen and pine tar.
Look at some of the pitching numbers that went up during that era. Look at some of the things Clemens did. Now, he may have been juiced too, but look at what Pedro did.
Yeah.
During this time. Pedro, one of the best pitchers who ever played the game, and he doesn't get his credit. His numbers in any era are phenomenal, but in that era are out of this world. So
that's even more of a testament to a guy like Pedro Martinez in that generation.
Pedro Martinez should be considered at least one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball history, if not one of the top 5. Man. He is that good, and he is completely overshadowed.
I love it. You guys are listening to 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 FM in Marietta, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and with our TV partner, Blab TV. If you don't have them through your TV service provider, you can add them through the channel search on your Fire Stick or Roku, BLAB TV. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, download the app, and register. All at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Now, the SEC has announced Georgia and Tennessee's schedule adjustments. They came out and directed Georgia and the University of Tennessee to postpone scheduled football games versus Oklahoma because the transition of Oklahoma into the SEC will not allow for the involved institutions to fulfill their respective contractual non-conference home-and-home appearance obligations. Do we want to unload that into layman's terms?
Yeah, so if you're explaining this to a 5-year-old, it pretty much means Oklahoma and Texas are coming to the SEC next year.
So, well, are they not going to put out why is this kind of gauged towards Oklahoma, and why isn't Texas kind of involved in?
Well, I don't know yet. I'm sure that
words here
that will come out in the next few weeks because Texas plays at Bama next year. I'm sure that will come out unless the SEC already has some scheduling put together where they know that game can still fit in the schedule. But these teams are in the East, so I don't know if they have Oklahoma pegged in next year when they come in to play them regular season.
It could be as simple as they haven't been able to square everything with the University of Texas yet enough to announce it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but this screams that they're coming next year at the very latest 2024, because then they wouldn't want to upset a home and home thing with a 2023 game, which I don't think would matter. It screams to me they're coming next year.
Yeah, I don't think that's far off, but man, if you're Bama in that situation, right, and it's like, well, we just went to Austin last year, but now we're not going to be able to get the reciprocation of that big game. Yeah, no, 100%, but still, this is it does allude to the fact that we're closer to Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, but still that $80 million buyout, guess it just doesn't affect.
Well, you got to think the money they're going to get from the TV contracts the first year in the SEC will probably recoup all of that.
It will. They're not going to pay the whole 80 either.
Yeah.
Look,
that...
lawyers are on retainer for these reasons. That's what's being negotiated right now, and the fact that they're doing anything like this announcement tells me they're pretty darn close.
Yeah, man. So what Oklahoma has done now is replace that September 9th battle against Oklahoma with SMU, and then Georgia, they added their game against Ball State instead. So that's a big time. Oklahoma SMU, there could be some charm to that game, but the Georgia Ball State, I mean, that's not as big of a matchup. But I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more of these as these conferences build to super conferences.
Do you think Georgia and Tennessee saw what happened to Alabama this past weekend? They were like, no, we want no part of these non-conference games early in the year.
No.
I mean, there is that, but Georgia playing Oregon, and maybe it's a different situation because they're Big 12.
Well, just remember who announced this. Wasn't Georgia. Wasn't Tennessee. This is the SEC.
Yeah.
This deal's done.
This deal is done, he says. Man, it's going to be wild to see how this all plays out. And then, so does the Oklahoma-Texas move to SEC? Let's say it starts in 2023 next year, right? Does that push the needle for UCLA and USC to get to the Big Ten any quicker, or is it because they're in different conferences, it really doesn't have any correlating lines?
It's going to come down to the contracts with those schools. I don't know that there will obviously be a direct correlation with the schools coming into the Big 12, like Central Florida and
Cincinnati, BYU,
and schools like that. I don't know that it has any direct impact. It may have kind of an ulterior impact on USC, UCLA. UCLA may still have some Board of Regents issues to deal with if Gavin Newsom's running for anything at the time. But I don't know. I doubt it has a direct impact on that one, but it may get some momentum going to get everything done so that we're somewhat on the same playing field, if you will.
Now, Miles is a guy who has BYU pegged to get to the playoff this year.
They're on the right track.
It's not a bad pick.
Right, no. And so I'm kind of setting the table here. If you're BYU, you're independent, you make the playoff, you know that on the horizon it's going to turn into a 12-team playoff, they're probably already locked in with the Big 12, but do the AD and the chancellor of the school or whatever get together and say, I mean, I know that we've made the move, but do we second guess this because we've made it into the playoff system as an independent? Now we could pull that Notre Dame card.
I think Notre Dame's licking their chops, though, that they know they're staying independent, and they know they'll be in. They're a top 12 program year in and year out, so they have a spot in the playoff every year.
Well, the thing is, you can't compare Notre Dame with any other independent.
Very true.
BYU is going to make more money off the Big 12 deal, as bad as it may be in relation to the SEC or the Big 10, than they do even making the playoff. Notre Dame has their own deal, and it may not be quite as lucrative as they would get getting in the Big 10, like they may be $10 million short, but that extra $10 million, the freedom they have, might be worth it. So Notre Dame, the fact that they have their entire own network deal, you better really come strong if you're going to make them join the Big 10. And I just haven't seen enough of a difference yet for them to have to do that. But no, BYU has no pause going to the Big 12. They're still going to make out way better doing that.
And they could very well, by the time Oklahoma and Texas secede and head to the SEC, they could be the top dog, one of the top dogs, because you got to think Cincinnati, the way that they played Arkansas, they're really some quarterback play away from being, the same Cincinnati team that we saw take on Alabama in the college football playoff last year. There's going to be some – and UCF, I don't know. You got the Gus Bus there. I wouldn't put too many eggs in that basket. But there's going to – the new revamped Big 12 isn't going to be too shabby. It'll be, in my opinion, a step ahead of what the next best group of 5 conference is, right above the American Athletic Conference.
I think the Fun Belt's overtaken them.
Oh yeah, that's what our trivia question has to do with today.
For a week or so, it's too early to say, but they've certainly got themselves in the conversation, which I would not have bet on. So,
yeah.
Hey, that's for them.
That's good stuff. Hey, you're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. You're home for the Auburn Tigers. And we've got a big one coming up. Penn State inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. Kickoff is at 2:30. We're going to get you to the coverage at 2 o'clock for Penn State at Auburn. Let's see how Coach Harsin and the War Eagles fare in that game. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be right back with the owner of Golf Plus, Alan Watson, on the line.
Your home for college football. ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the most live sports on the Panhandle. Premier college games every week. And this Saturday, it's a college football triple header. First, Georgia at South Carolina, then Penn State versus Auburn, and Mississippi State at LSU. College football on ESPN Northwest Florida starts this Saturday at 10:30 and sponsored by PCB Coins and Cards. Listen live on 104.3 and the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
My forecast for this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s. Line northeast winds. The water temperature in the Gulf is 85. Mostly clear around 68 tonight. Pretty good chance of a few showers, maybe a thunderstorm Thursday and Friday. Highs in the mid to upper 80s. This weather forecast has been brought to you by KHS and Associates, your source for affordable health insurance. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Hi, I'm Tracy, your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Shopping for the perfect diamond can be difficult, but that's why I've trained my staff to be helpful and to offer you a stress-free diamond experience. Pick your sparkle and use our easy layaway plan. Every woman deserves an exquisite diamond from your diamond girl at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We don't work on commissions.
We work for smiles and I-dos.
So if you're tired of high-pressure salespeople, stop by and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Tiger TV Pro is a new streaming service that provides you with over 3,000 channels for only $15 a month. You probably spend more than that on lunch these days. Get local channels, entertainment networks, premium movie channels, news and weather channels, and more. Tiger TV Pro even includes all the sports networks, including ACC, SEC, NFL, MLB, and NHL. Sign up's easy. Just go to ESPNPC.com, scroll down, and click the Tiger logo.
Dr. Chad Mitchell, orthopedic surgeon, specializing in sports medicine and joint replacement of the knee, shoulder, and hip. He serves our local athletes and our community. Southern Orthopedic Specialists has been the leader in orthopedic care for over 20 years. New patients are welcome. Call 850-769-KNEE to schedule an appointment. More about Dr. Mitchell and Southern Orthopedic Specialists is available on their website, southernorthopedic.com. Southern Orthopedic, getting you back in the game.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, 102.1 in Mariana, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Give us a holler, 850-215-6290. Text or call. And we've got the owner of Golf Plus on the line with us. That is Alan Watson. Y'all go check out Golf Plus in the shops at Edgewater. Alan, what's going on, my man?
Man, it is a beautiful, glorious golf day. Too bad I'm not on the golf course, but it is absolutely gorgeous today. So I'm just working the shop this morning for a while, and I came home to do some paperwork and catch up in my office. And man, wishing I was out hitting the ball around. But anyway, what's up? What's up there? That's a nice looking T-shirt you're wearing there, buddy.
Yeah, man, representing the good old Golf Plus. This is nice, man. I was thinking, man, maybe today is the day that Alan graces us with his presence. So I'm gonna grace him with a beautiful T-shirt.
All right. Well, I wish I could, man. I tell you what, we are back in the doldrums of staffing issues, which have kind of plagued us since we opened this store, and it's plagued a lot of restaurants and retail and whatnot, for the last couple of years of COVID. So my son, who's been with me for the last year and has been a real key part of this operation, has decided that he and his friends are going to go out to Montana and work at a ski resort. So they're just doing that college thing, and they're going to go work at a ski resort. So anyway, he's leaving. So today's actually his last day, and I've got a new guy in that's really good, but it'll take him a minute to get up to speed, of course. So I'm going to be doing all the fitting for a while and repairs and whatnot. And but anyway, so that's why I didn't make it by the studio today, because between working there and then coming home real quick. But anyway, I probably won't be in the studio for a while. But you got my number, so we're good.
Hey, yes, sir. That's all that matters at the end of the day, is that we deliver the information to the listeners. So I came across, I forget where it was, I believe Facebook or Twitter, but it was basically a thread talking about, when they started getting into golf, they didn't want to seem like they weren't good, so they would play from the tips. So it kind of got me thinking, how would you suggest that newer players or amateurs in general decide which tees to play from? I know that doesn't necessarily have to do with the fitting of a golf club, but still in the world of golf.
No, it's very important. So obviously, the further back you play, the more difficult you're going to make the golf course play, unless you happen to hit the ball extremely far, which most people don't do. So typically you want to base it off of either your skill level or how far you hit your tee ball. I think kind of a combination of both. So when people are just getting started, they should play further up and limit the number of shots it's going to take them. Otherwise, they're going to play slow, and they're going to have to let people play through them and all that, and it's just going to be bad. A lot of people do feel like that, hey, it's like I paid the same price as you, so I get to play the whole golf course, so they want to play from the back or the tips. I think that's a terrible idea.
That's paying for misery.
Yeah, you're just paying for misery. But yeah, skill level and how far you hit the tee ball really determines it, because what you don't want to do is have yourself on sort of an average par 4 that's maybe, let's say, 420 to 440 yards, and you're having to hit a fairway metal into the green because your driver didn't go but 180 yards. So that can be really, disheartening and not fun. You want to make the game relatively fun, especially early on. It's a hard enough game. And you also can look at the scorecard and look at the length of the par 3s. If all of the par 3s are 175 yards or more, and you're an amateur player who's not got a lot of experience, or you don't hit the ball a long way, you're just not going to have a fun time that day. So you can do it two ways. You can look at the par threes and find where you're comfortable when you're hitting that single shot into the green, or like I said, you can just think about the distance you hit the ball off the tee with your driver and or your skill level. Some golf courses will even have signage at the first tee that recommends certain tee boxes based on skill level or driver length. But I think a lot of people kind of ignore that and let their ego get in the way.
Yeah, I think I don't play from the tips by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that sometimes even playing from, depending on which course you're at, how they have the blues or the whites set up, playing from the next one's closest in, I think even sometimes I need to be moving in a little closer.
Yeah, I mean, and you can also look at the time of year and how busy the course is and think about that as well. If it's a holiday weekend and the course is slammed and every single tee time is taken, then moving up a little bit might speed your group up, but then again, the whole course is so covered up with folks, you're not going anywhere anyway. So that might be the day to back it up a little bit and say, hey, let's just see how miserable this can be from the back because we're not going anywhere. And then other times, like I said, if it's flowing properly, maybe you're causing a problem by being back there. So yeah, I mean, and then the other thing too is within your group, you may have people that need to play from multiple tee boxes for various reasons, and that's okay. You don't all have to play off the same box. When I go play with my dad, I mean, he's almost 80 years old. He doesn't drive the ball near as far as he used to. There's just no point in him playing back from where I'm playing from. It's not any fun. So I always encourage people to play the appropriate box for themselves and not treat it like a group thing where you all have to be at the same spot.
Yeah, that's great advice, Alan, and I love the thought about the par threes because that really is a good way to start with trying to figure out exactly what tee you should play because, you can have par fours that vary 80, 100 yards within the same, 18 holes. So I think the par threes is a good way to start, but I'm never more miserable on a course than when I feel like I'm holding up people. And while the tees is important to that, I think there are a couple other things people need to do, especially if you're someone who goes out and shoots in the 90s or 100, roll the ball. You don't have to play a ball down on a course that maybe isn't groomed all that well. Just roll the ball a little bit, get you a good lie and hit a better shot. The other thing I would say is you don't have to step off a yardage to 1 yard if you have a 30% chance of topping the ball.
Yeah.
That's right.
5-10 yards absolutely. Eyeballing it should be fine, and that'll also speed things up. But really, it is miserable if you're trying to play a round of golf and and you feel like you're holding people up, and it's just no fun. You won't enjoy it, and you won't get the enjoyment out of the game that you should.
Absolutely. I mean, people definitely, that's why laser rangefinders and GPS watches and whatnot have sped the game up a little bit because people don't have to go hunt for a marker that probably doesn't mean anything to them anyway. I mean, if you're 267 yards out, do you really have a club that's going to get you there reasonably? What's the chance? I mean, you can see that you're a country mile away. Just pick a comfortable club and go, or whatever. I mean, the other thing, too, you see is a lot of people standing around making 18 practice swings, and then when it's their turn, they then address their ball and make 5 more practice swings. And I'm like, look, man, there's 4 of us, and you should have been getting ready while I was hitting my shot, and now it's your turn, and now we got to watch you go through this whole thing. I don't need that kind of drama on the golf course. It's not the U.S. Open, man. Let's go.
I got one more I got to throw in there. If you have to pick up 5 clumps of grass and toss them in the air to see the wind that you can't feel on your face, then you're an idiot. I can't think of a nicer way to put it. Just feel the wind and play.
I've always felt, the wind. I mean, you usually, if it's windy enough to affect your ball flight, you'll see your towel blowing on the side of your golf bag if it's hanging there or whatever. There's usually some pretty good indicators. Now, I don't have any hair, as you guys know, so I can't feel the wind blowing through my hair. But if it's blowing enough that my pant legs are flapping, that's probably something to think about. But you're right. If you don't really feel anything, you don't see the trees moving, you don't see the grass moving, probably no reason to get a little overexcited with the grass throwing. You're right there.
Hey, Alan, it's Miles. With the new season coming up, and I'm a big Max Homa guy, this is usually when he gets his wins in these early tournaments that aren't that big. But he did make the cut in 3 of the 4 majors last year. His highest ranking in the world has been 19. Do you think he takes a step forward this year and becomes a top 15, top 10 player in the world?
Yeah, I don't know if he's ready for top 10, but he's got a better chance this year because of the Live Tour, because we keep talking about some of these players leaving and making more room for the top players. So I think he gets 2 or 3 world ranking points just off the Live Tour, moving him up. Yep. And then I think that you're right. I mean, those guys that are kind of scrappy like him, that are still kind of younger and wanting to ascend to that next level, this is the time of year where they're going to keep playing in tournaments, keep practicing, and keep working hard, whereas some of the top players are going to slack off a little bit and take a little step back because, hey, the real season doesn't start till January, and I've already played my majors, and I've played my big tournaments, and I've played the FedEx Cup. So those guys are maybe going to take their eye off the ball a little bit, maybe go enjoy some family time. And then a player like Max Homa, who's, you're right, I mean, he's a great stick. He's going to keep it going. I definitely think within the next 2 years, he can be a top 10 player for sure. He's got the game, and he's got the pedigree for it. But I think we're still looking at. Obviously, they're calling it the Rory Tour now. We're still looking at the Rory Tour, and we're still seeing the Justin Thomases and the Jordan Spieths. There's still some guys that I just don't know that he can beat, week in and week out. But even to be in top 10 or top 15, he'll make plenty of money and be a great player in the game of golf.
All right. Hey, Alan, I was gonna try to sneak in a live question there, but I think we'll save it till next week. Hey, thanks so much for giving us some time. And we did get through a whole entire segment without really jumping onto the live PGA Tour.
Fine. Let me throw the answer in for the question unasked. Shut up, Rory.
Shut up, Rory. No, I really want to get into, Rory McIlroy and how he's feeling about the Ryder Cup. And then you've got on the same team, U.S. Open champion Matt Fitzpatrick, who's open to that. So we'll save that for next Wednesday, Alan. Hey, thanks so much, Alan.
Thanks, guys. See y'all soon.
Yes, sir. That is the owner of Golf Plus. That's Alan Watson. And you can go check out Golf Plus at the shops at Edgewater. It's a great store. And if you just got yourself a brand new set of clubs, it's a great time to go get fit, and you will play better. If you're spraying all over the course, you can narrow it down and start to spray a little closer to each other.
You know what trick I've learned is a little Vaseline on your driver head.
Hey, hitting trees is better.
Really?
Hitting trees is better than hitting houses.
Well, hey, Friday evening, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is the new radio home for the Mosley Dolphins. The excitement and the crowds of high school football are back. Live play-by-play with myself and Kyle Wright. And this weekend, it's the 2-1 Mosley Dolphins at the house at Tommy Oliver versus Leon, who's 0-3. Coverage starting at 6:30. The Kicks at 6.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins.
It's the Mosley Dolphins versus the Leon Lions, live from Tommy Oliver Stadium. Coverage starts Friday night at 6:30. Kickoff at 7 right here. Sponsored by Southern Orthopedic Specialists, Panama City Toyota, Tavario Solutions, Gulf Coast Aquarium, Barano Heating and Air Conditioning, Barbaritos, Team MVP, Ellis Agency Insurance, First Federal Bank, and ESPN Northwest Florida.
As a realtor, it's important who you choose as your title company. May we suggest South Oak Title? Their offices are modern, comfortable, and state-of-the-art. South Oak Title can close transactions in any location in Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Their free mobile app allows realtors to deliver a net sheet in seconds. They provide mobile closing services to accommodate buyers and sellers. Their offices are beautifully decorated, state-of-the-art, complete, safe, and secure. South Oak Title, creating a better title and closing experience through technology and tailored service. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
The original J. Michael's Restaurant on Thomas Drive, Panama City Beach, serving Bay County and visitors from the U.S., Canada, and around the world since 1976. A little Southern, a little Creole, and a lot of hospitality. Come enjoy J. Michael's seafood platter, red beans and rice, the best gumbo on the beach, and the world-famous spaghetti night on Wednesdays. 3210 Thomas Drive, J. Michael's Restaurant.
The end of hunger and poverty starts here. Your gift of an animal from Heifer International can help a family start a small business, creating food and income for education, medicine, and more, all while caring for the earth. At Heifer International, we help small-scale farmers achieve living incomes through economic development and private sector partnerships. We empower communities by creating women's groups, farmers associations, and cooperatives that strengthen social support networks. And we teach sustainable, earth-friendly agriculture that minimizes environmental impact and reduces the carbon footprint. Around the world and right here at home. Heifer International. Learn more at heifer.org.
The #1 SEC call-in show is now twice as big. It's double the Paul Feinbaum Show. Weeknights starting at 6.
Okay, but also go faster.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Live from the Rib Crib Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back. We're here in the Rib Crib Radio Room, and Rib Crib has a new building on 15th Street over there by Oasis in the old Rafffield Seafood Building. So go check them out over there on 15th Street now. Team MVP, powered by eXp Realty, and we've got the head coach here of Team MVP, the coach's daughter, Leanne Schwartzentruber. Leanne, great to have you in, and it feels just like old times because I feel like I'm surrounded by the state of Mississippi right now.
Ooh, you are. And you know what? I love that.
Now,
it's about time.
From the good side of the state of Mississippi, thank you very much.
Exactly. The maroon and white
That's right.
side.
So we're going to definitely dig in here to Mississippi State season. But first, what's standing out to you? I know you said you didn't want me to get you started on Notre Dame, but I mean, Marshall just
go ahead.
We are Marshall, so let's start out with that. Before we get into Marshall Notre Dame, we'll ease into it. What is standing out to you in the first few weeks of the college football season, and we're just now getting into it?
Honestly, about the same thing that it does every year at this time. Everybody that was supposed to be good, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame, all these people that are ranked high are getting beat, and vice versa. You know, and then you have your constant, your Alabama, Georgia. However, and I messed up by texting you.
Yeah, you
just
did.
A little
You did.
too early.
As soon as you texted me,
mad.
as soon as you texted me, I was like, "Yes, this is good news," because that means because I was keeping my mouth shut. I was not texting nobody or anything
Haters
like that.
never learn,
Yeah.
Dave.
And then as soon as I got that, I'm like, "We have a chance here. We've got." Thanks, Leanne. I knew you loved me.
And I said, all it said was "hook 'em horns," and then they scored.
And what's even better about that is it was a group text with
old school.
With old school as well,
and
who's
that's why I sent it because I knew he was excited.
yeah, and he was like,
even he was pessimistic.
yeah, he was
I
like,
sent a text after that game finished, and it just said, "Never in doubt."
never in doubt. But yeah, you're right though. Those are the things that are kind of standing out to me as well. How about Mississippi State season to this point? Sitting pretty, two decent wins, and then you've got this game coming up, and it really, I mean. I don't think that Brian Kelly's going to be on the hot seat with the loss to Mississippi State here, but LSU fans will be going crazy with the loss here, especially in Death Valley.
Yes, and I will be laughing and ringing my cowbell for days probably. No, when we were at about 12 to 15, I think it was, or 10 to 12 or something with Arizona, I was like, oh, man, this is not good. I mean, they went 4 years without winning, you know, and then Arizona won last week, so they were all fired up. But just on a side note, my son and daughter-in-law went out for the game because and for those of y'all that, you know, have been listening for a while, my niece Emma Kate plays soccer for Arizona. And so they were playing Pepperdine that weekend, so they were going to catch both games, you know, which was awesome. But then when we turned it on, but it's just so weird seeing Mississippi State having a passing game.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it's like, but what was great is my husband said, why are we running the ball? We're supposed to be throwing the ball. I said, no, that's what they expect us to do.
Yeah.
They're thinking we're going to come in and air it out with Mike Leach, and then we were running it. I was like, and it was working. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. But no, Will Rogers, he's already surpassed a lot of Dak's records. And Dak had 5 years to make those records.
That's a fantastic point.
Or maybe it was 4. I know he's fifth-year senior, though. And he played hurt, too. Got to say that. But, and then now he's still hurt.
Will he play hurt now?
The tradition carries on with Dak. No, but it's Will Rogers is very impressive, and we're very fortunate to have him. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But I'm like Brian. we, as state fans, we don't have expectations, okay? We don't go into the year going, we're going to win the West.
Yeah.
Or we're going to national championship or bust. You know,
The goal is to finish 6th in the West, huh?
No, it's
we
just
just wanna
we're
beat
happy
Ole
with what we
Miss.
get, and we have to beat Ole Miss.
That's
Yes,
right.
That's exactly right.
That's it. That's the way it works. And so the name of this show now is so appropriate.
Yeah.
Because I've been an underdog my whole life.
There you go. I'll let you dig into Texas A&M and App State, that game and the upset there, and then we'll go to the other upset of the weekend with Marshall and Notre Dame.
Now, I'm not just saying this because you're a Bama fan,
Yeah.
okay? If Texas would have, if it was Georgia, they would have been playing, even if it was maybe A&M, and definitely if it was Ole Miss. But that was fun. That was a good game. I mean, Texas, their defense was strong. They needed a little work on the offense side. But I think I picked it correctly because I picked Texas with the points.
You were 7-3 over the week. I don't have your sheet.
Well, I know I
in front
didn't
of
get
me here,
A&M right for sure, but I don't. Either Texas is better finally than we think, or Alabama's got a little fine tuning to do.
Oh, I think both sides of
There's
those
a lot
are
of penalties
correct.
and mistakes.
I mean, a lot of penalties and mistakes. You don't have a wide receiver that can take the top off the defense. Bryce Young still looks really
Still looks green, a little green.
well. I think that he looks really good. I think that what we're seeing with Bryce Young more or less is that the receivers don't have that speed, and so
yeah,
you know, last year you either go over the top, and if they expect you to go over the top, then next thing you know, you've got what's the Mechie who can cut underneath and get you your first down yardage that you need. So. The offensive line wasn't as good last year either, so there is things that I think Bama's going to work on. But Texas, for me, you got to give credit where credit's due, right? And so I think there's a lot of credit due towards Sarkisian and the Longhorns. I don't know how long it plays out now, but I can only imagine what the final of that game looks like, or who comes out on top had Quinn Ewers stayed healthy for that entire game, because there wasn't any answers.
Well, the thing is, it surprised me is the offensive line, though. I mean, Bryce Young was getting just pummeled out there. I couldn't believe it. And that's unusual to see an Alabama quarterback being taken down that much.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, great, they're going to get rattled. And because we don't see it very often because they don't lose very often. But when Alabama has been pushed back into a corner, they start to sort of break apart. Then they go in halftime, and some things are probably said that get them a fire lit underneath them. And
the
they
opposite
come
of
out
rat
second
poison.
half, and they just squash whoever they're playing. But that was a really good game. I'm glad they had some good, actual, interesting matchups.
They had enough last year for my heart's sake, but no, we're just continuing the trend here in 2022. And it kind of takes me to the other side of the ball for Alabama, and another Heisman hopeful that a lot of people had at least making the trip to New York City for the Heisman presentation, and Will Anderson, and some very uncharacteristic mistakes, 2 offsides, a few other penalties going along with that as well. So you don't ever use the descriptor of Alabama teams as undisciplined, but that if you were to describe that word, at least the Alabama side of the game, or describe that game with one word, it was undisciplined.
Yeah. And that is unacceptable to Nick Saban. So I can guarantee you it has been corrected already.
Yeah. Caveman Rick says Ewers is the one who got pummeled. Who was that? That was Dallas Turner, I believe. I agree with the roughing the passer on that call, but I mean, it wasn't egregious. It wasn't egregious.
It's not those of us who've enjoyed football for a long time, but it is the way they're calling it now.
Yeah.
So at least they're consistent to what they're doing, whether it should be that or not.
That's a good response.
Well, and it was a lot more clear of a roughing the passer than on the opposite end with the safety in question.
I don't know. That kind of looked like roughing the passer and targeting to me.
Well, the one
after that, and they come back and go, oh, and by the way, what we said, we didn't mean to say it, and it's not there anymore. I've never even seen that happen before.
Oh, I think the refs were just rattled.
It was weird.
From my perspective, when that was happening, I couldn't even tell you. I was like, how do you make that call and then kind of rescind it? And but at the same time, when you're watching the replay, you're like, that's definitely not roughing the passer, and it's not targeting.
Right.
So
there was one in the Kentucky-Florida game that I cannot believe they didn't. I mean, they overturned it, and I was like, that's every definition textbook of what they're. Now, again, that was called a good hit 30 years ago, but we're not in this time. So everything they've defined as they want to take out of the game, this hit was, and they overturned it. I don't get it. The sad thing is, if they keep, I don't like these guys getting kicked out for a whole game, but if they keep backing off of these targeting calls and all like that, they're going to encourage more hits like this, and someone is going to get really hurt.
That's a
And
good
so
point.
they're in a catch-22, but they need to call it the way they say they're going to call it.
And then stick with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's one of the problems in all officiating, right? I mean,
yeah.
like, go to the NFL with their taunting calls, and 1 year it's this
But
way.
both of these were called on the field.
Yeah.
These are booth problems.
Yeah.
Not on the field ref problems.
That's true.
Which is even, I would go to say that's even worse, right?
Yeah.
Because you're having time to sit there and watch it multiple
those guys
times.
aren't calling it live.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got every angle, and they have slow-mo, and they have plenty of time. Lord knows they have plenty of time, to look over it. Yeah, it's unacceptable.
Caveman Rick says they should get a 15-minute penalty.
Yes.
You're out for
No
one
reviews
quarter.
for 15 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. Something along those lines. That would be really good.
Yeah.
I know it took me a second too.
Or just
I'm talking about the officials should get a penalty.
Oh, 15.
That's what I was laughing.
Oh, the coach whistles them down and then hits them with a blue flag or something that's not yellow.
Yeah,
It's like,
you
all
get
right.
no reviews for the next 15 minutes.
You're in the tent for the next 15 minutes.
Love it.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to keep it rocking and rolling. We've got trivia coming up next, and we're going to dive into who Leanne thinks will be representing the West and the East in the SEC Championship. What FBS university takes its name from a U.S. president? They also won the 2016 FCS Championship and moved up to the Sun Belt Conference this year, 2022. 850-215-6290. ESPN Northwest Florida with the most touchdowns on the Gulf Coast. And we've got a lot of games coming at you this Saturday, starting with Georgia, South Carolina, moving to Penn State, Auburn, finishing it up with Mississippi State at LSU.
You're home for college football. ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the most live sports on the Panhandle. Premier college games every week. And this Saturday, it's a college football triple header. First, Georgia at South Carolina, then Penn State versus Auburn, and Mississippi State at LSU. College football on ESPN Northwest Florida starts this Saturday at 10:30 and sponsored by PCB Coins and Cards. Listen live on 104.3 and the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby. The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey, cheesy, crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously. But as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Get ready for the PCB Fishing Rodeo September 23rd through October 9th at Captain Anderson Marina. Join us for the kickoff party Saturday, September 24th with live music from 4 till 7 p.m. To be a part of this exciting event, you can register at Captain Anderson Marina or online at PCBFishingRodeo.com. The PCB Fishing Rodeo, September 23rd through October 9th.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. 850-215-6290.
Always be sure to listen for the dial tone.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Live, it's time to play some trivia. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Miles Lashley, Brian Haddad, and the coach's daughter, Leanne Schwartzentruber. Now, Leanne, before we open up the lines for trivia, give a little plug for Team MVP and what all you, Chuck Sowers. I don't even remember the whole litany of people that you have working with you these days.
Well, things are going really good. Prices have come down a little bit, even though interest rates have gone up. But we're starting to get more in a more stable, hopefully more balanced market.
Okay.
It's not good when you have tons of people. No, I mean, when the way it was,
Okay.
when people are paying crazy prices, everybody just needs to calm down.
Yeah.
And let's go back to doing things the way that worked the best. But we are here to help you from A to Z, start to finish, get you to the closing table. It's Chuck Sowers and I, started Team MVP several years ago. And now we have Ashley Moran. We have Chad Patterson, who is also a licensed builder. And that's come in really handy. And he does renovations. So, for Bay County people like me that still haven't had their house finished, give me a call. I'll hook you up with Chad. So that's Chad Patterson, and we have Chris McKenzie, and he's former military too. So we've got like 2 veterans on the squad.
Now, is that the guy? Who's the guy that was from Boston area or was a Boston fan?
Yeah, he's
Okay. Okay. All right. He went back. He went back to Boston.
We don't know.
He at least somewhere in the sky out there.
We actually know nothing. We know
All right.
zip.
And that's what I was about to say. I was like, well, that list. Like, if I would have tried to do that off of memory, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would have got Chuck Sowers and that.
Chuck Sowers.
Yeah, Chuck Sowers. I think I remember Ashley Moran. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe here.
Well, we've sort of evolved. And what we're doing now is really working well. And everybody sort of has their special niche or what they concentrate in. So it's comprehensive. You've got former veterans that are military relocation specialists. And then I've had my license for 10 years.
Mhm.
Chuck's about 5 years. So we've got you covered. No matter what you need, buying or selling, land, houses, new construction.
A true team, and you can reach them at 833-TEAM-MVP. Call or text, right?
That's right.
Call or text 833-TEAM-MVP. The trivia question, you got to call 850-215-6290. What FBS university takes its name from a U.S. president, won the 2016 FCS championship, and moved up to the Sun Belt Conference this year, 2022? Now, we talked about Dak Prescott and the injury to his thumb. Originally, we were hearing 6 to 8 weeks. Then Jerry Jones gets on 103.5 The Fan in Dallas and is like, no, 4 weeks and he's back. We're not even going to put him on the IR, the injured reserve, so he's not going to miss or he won't be on the shelf for 4 games, even though he'll be on the shelf for a bare minimum of 4 games. Is Jerry Jones crazy for saying 4 weeks?
I don't think so. Let me tell you why. I've had the same surgery.
Okay.
I just had the same surgery. I was painting and planning things within like 3 weeks.
You had the same surgery.
Yeah. Tracy,
And that's, wow.
And I'm not a pro athlete, clearly.
Right.
So these guys that are really in good shape and condition, because I think it's fractured. So, I mean, I had bones that were taken out and false bones replaced, which is even more intense. So, I really, as well as he came back from what was a really horrific injury, I think he can definitely be out there in a month. Now, if a doctor says different, listen to what the doctor says, but
that's
Jerry
what it's
Jones also makes decisions.
Well, would Jerry Jones, say that this surgery goes successfully, and I believe, is the surgery going on today? I think, I'm not sure. It may be going on tomorrow. But if the surgery goes successfully and all that stuff, my question, I guess, is how soon do you start being able to grip
That's
again?
the only thing, because that's probably the last thing that comes back Is
Mm-hmm.
but even for me, it's just the fine motor skills. Dak's hands are bigger. Obviously, he's a guy, and they can tape him up. Would he have maybe not complete range of motion? I would
But
say.
better motion than what a healthy Cooper Rush has? That's such
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a whole nother story. Maybe that's why Jerry Jones is saying 4 weeks, man. He's probably already checked in, had the surgery, and is already back home doing physical therapy because they're going to want him back out there on the field.
that is gonna be a crazy situation to monitor because in the world of fantasy football, the lack of Dak, even with Dak last week, they scored 3 points in the first quarter. Dak's injury had nothing to do with the way that game ended. But it is going to be interesting to see moving forward for the next 4 weeks. You can almost bank on it. You shouldn't play CeeDee Lamb. Zeke is tough to say that you're going to play. But that's kind of the beauty of why we even play the game in the first place is because you never know what's going to happen any given Sunday or Sunday night or Monday.
Or Thursday night.
We got the Chargers and the Chiefs right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida tomorrow evening. So, yeah, Miles, what do you think? 4 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks? Where are you at with Dak here? And is Jerry Jones,
Trey Cray?
Yeah,
Jerry is crazy. He's getting too old for his job. But I do think he could come back in 4 weeks with Jerry saying that. Dak's a competitor. He wants to get back out there as quick as he can. He's going to do everything he can to be out there. I don't know where Jerry Jones is getting his time frame from. It might be coming from a doctor that we don't know yet. But if it is, then I'd see it happening.
Now, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it wouldn't surprise me if Jerry Jones is trying to take the story off of Cooper Rush and make it about Jerry Jones, which he does. And I think that's calculated, actually. Look, our old buddy Rain Dakota Prescott, he's been a little plastic here lately, and I hate it because he is a good competitor. Quite frankly, he's probably going to try and come back too early. This is not an injury you want to aggravate, not as a quarterback anyway. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully the Cowboys won't be in need of him to have to rush back too fast, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence. So it looks to me like one of those situations where I'm worried he's going to try and come back too early and may do more damage.
Like Russell Wilson last year with his finger injury. Russell Wilson said he was rehabbing it, I think, 18 hours a day, sleeping for 6.
Yeah.
He comes back 3 weeks too early and didn't look himself.
And look, Dak is that kind of guy.
Oh, yeah,
he will
is.
go out there to his own detriment to play the game. So.
Remember at Mississippi State?
Yeah.
I mean, he begged them to put him back in. I think he played with a broken collarbone, didn't he?
Yeah, sometimes people need to say no.
Yeah, I know.
And honestly, that's what Jerry Jones should be doing. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, from what I was reading on The Athletic was that one of the writers on The Athletic was talking to a surgeon who doesn't have anything to do with Dak Prescott, but just kind of from what the information he was given was basically, there's a possibility of 4 weeks, but being able to grip within 4 weeks, it just has to be a really clean break at a certain spot in your thumb. And from what Dak said, it was a clean fracture, and it wasn't in the area of his joint. I'm assuming that it's right here. Where's your first metacarpal? Is it this one or is it this one?
Hey, don't be asking me.
Well, if you had the surgery.
If we knew that, would we be in here?
We would be over at Southern Orthopedics.
We'd be on our yacht.
Getting you back in the game. All right. Oh, man. It is officially hurricane season. Keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got your weather covered with our staff meteorologist, Tim Root. Be sure to rely on him and ourselves for the most detailed forecast on the Panhandle. Plus, breaking weather when it happens. Brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, KHS and Associates, and Earthworks of Northwest Florida.
.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has the real local fishing report. This is Tim from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Join me every Thursday afternoon at 5:15 during the Afternoon Underdogs and Friday mornings during the 6 a.m. hour. It's accurate, concise content from local anglers right here on
My forecast for this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s. Light northeast winds. The water temperature in the Gulf is 85. Mostly clear around 68 tonight. Pretty good chance of a few showers, maybe a thunderstorm Thursday and Friday. Highs in the mid to upper 80s. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Tired of being overcharged each month for health insurance or finding out you still have significant out-of-pocket costs from copays or deductibles when you do go see the doctor? Hi, I'm Kevin Shady with KHS & Associates. Our independent insurance agency has helped individuals, families, and even small business employees lower their health care insurance costs with no copays, no 80/20 coinsurance, and no deductibles unless you're hospitalized overnight. Call or text us at 502-386-1128. That's 502-386-1128.
145 over 92.
180 over 111.
182 over 100. And I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest. And then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life.
A lot of people don't understand, including myself. I didn't, now I do, the impact of having a stroke.
My memory is shot.
When I woke up, I couldn't speak.
Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
It's a new life, but I'm going to make it better. Coming back. Ask your doctor, check your blood pressure.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, powered by Pepsi, ESPN Northwest Florida. Number of rings since 1987, Dallas Cowboys 0, J-Lo 5. Just saying. Now back to the Rib Crib Radio Room with the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back for hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. Brian Haddad has just been blinded
just got lighter.
He's been blinded by the light. All right, we've got some thumb wrestling tournaments to get into, so everybody bring them in. No, we got a couple of texts in during the break there. You guys are listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, also 102.1 in Mariana and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Eric with an A said, well, it's not going to load up here. Michigan State Bruce said, do we need to get Leanne an inflatable sumo suit?
Yes, I need just a bubble suit, and it's just going to protect my whole body, and that way I wasn't even doing anything though when this happened. I really needed to make up this really cool adventure story, like I was, hang gliding or jumping out of airplanes or something, and I went to pull my chute, and it just ripped my rotator cuff in half.
Well, it is the internet,
I was just
so
reaching for something.
You could have done that. It's the internet. Yeah. People do that all the time.
That's true.
Speaking of that inflatable sumo suit, I saw something wild on Facebook yesterday where they get in the bubble balls, and then the bulls run into them in the bubble balls, and so like they get $50 if they get.
It's a soccer ball. So what they do is they actually use the bubble inflatable, and they hit the soccer ball to try to. There's teams, but there's a bowl out there. And the ball hits them.
Quite a different.
It's wild.
Something soccer. I can't remember.
Yeah,
my wife showed it to me.
I'll try to look up what it was called, but you got 50. So if you kick the ball into the gate, the soccer ball into the gate, you got $50. If you got hit the hardest by the bull, you got $50. And their legs are not protected.
No, they're not.
It's it comes down to about your waist.
So they're not inside those balls,
like bubble. It's just the top part is up.
What is wrong with these people?
Charles Darwin.
Charles Darwin. Oh, guys, let's get into it. We also had another text here. Hold on, I got to pull these up on my.
The name of that game
here.
is called Natural Selection.
Natural Selection. That's really good. Oh, Professor Plum said we're only missing old school. Eric with an A said, what's going on? This is Eric. That's right, Eric with an A. Just want to say Jerry Jones is an idiot and Leanne is awesome. I miss the coach's daughter. Go Canes. And how about Tyler Van Dyke? And they've got them a big game that we're going to be picking here in this segment. Miami, Texas A&M. They've got a lot to prove this week. Most surprised. No, let's get straight into our picks because we got 3 people picking in this segment. So let's get into it. We're starting it off with number 6, Oklahoma at Nebraska. Nebraska's getting 12.5 points. We'll lead it off with Brian here.
Man, Nebraska's in such free fall. There's no way, unless they were getting like 28 or something, that I would go with them. Oklahoma's looked pretty good. I like what Venables is doing there. So, I mean, at 12.5, I love Oklahoma here.
Let's go to Todd. What do you got on this one?
Yeah, Oklahoma all the way, definitely. That's a kind of an easy one. Because didn't Nebraska get obliterated? By
They lost their coach, too.
They got beat by Georgia Southern.
I guess that's what I meant. Yeah, Georgia Southern, that was it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, my gosh, Nebraska not going to be so good.
It is so true. Lynn, where's your pick on this one?
Yeah, I have to say the same thing. Even with, the loss of Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma.
Okay, all right. Brian, moving back to you here. Number 12, BYU at number 25, Oregon. Oregon's getting 3.5 points.
I don't love this number on the road for BYU because it could be a 3-point game for them, and I got half-pointed to death last week. But I do really like what BYU's doing. I still am not a big believer in Oregon. I know they've got a great home field, but look, BYU, I looked at their schedule today. They're going all over the country. I mean, they're going east 3 times this year. They've got Arkansas at home. They had Baylor at home. They're playing some great competition. It's a veteran team. Give me BYU here, even though I don't love the number.
Todd?
Yeah, I'm in for BYU. And to follow on with that, but it's early. They haven't traveled all around the country yet. So I think with that having been said, I think they'll go to Oregon and beat them. And look, remember, I'm from Oregon, but still. I don't think, not this year.
Not this year. Leanne, where you at with this game?
Same way. I was very impressed with BYU. I mean, I was impressed with them last year. I think they'll beat Oregon.
Let's go. That's a good pick there. All right, Brian, where we at with this next game? And this one will be right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The kickoff will be at 2:30, and the coverage starts at 2 o'clock. Number 22, Penn State at Auburn. Auburn's getting 2.5 points here. You love your half points.
I'll be honest with you. These are 2 teams I haven't been very impressed with. This is probably more a heart pick than a head pick, but a team in the SEC at home getting points I like. So, honestly, I'm going to make the decision just based on that because, to me, it's a pick 'em. So, if I get 2.5 points with Auburn, I'll take Auburn.
All right. Where you at with this one, Todd?
I got one word for you. Well, maybe it's 2. Roll Tide. So I'm picking Penn State.
Yeah. And Leanne, what do you got?
Okay, question here. It's for sure at Auburn.
Yes. Game is at Auburn.
Okay. Yeah. I'm still picking Penn State.
Still going Penn State. All right. I like it. That is, man, I love you guys' picks here.
God, I don't have this next one.
You don't got the next one?
No, I know what I got.
We'll get to the next one here in a second. Kyle Alberton's got BYU. He also has got Penn State. Let's move on to this next one then. Troy at App State. College game day is going to be in Boone for this one. App State needs to cover 12.5 points. What do you got, Brian?
I've been trying to pick Troy because I honestly think they're going to play them tough. I really do. I think there's going to be a bit of a letdown from App State. Now, game day being there may help quell some of that. But the number at 12.5 isn't enough for me. If it was 14.5, I'd be on Troy here. But I'm going to go on and take App State minus 12.5. I don't love it, but I'm going to take it.
Todd?
I'm going to take Troy. And real quick, the reason why, my daughter goes to Troy.
There you
That's
go.
a great reason, man.
Sophomore year, so I got to give a shout out to her and to Troy.
Yeah, you're probably funding a few things.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Not even going to answer that.
Oh, we can get into some funding about Brett Favre and them. No. All right.
Not going down the Brett Favre road.
Leanne, Troy App State here.
I've got App State. I've actually always liked them, but if y'all look back to the last few years, I mean, they have upset they've won some major games.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not afraid to play the big boys at all. They'll go play
keep,
anybody.
And they keep losing coaches and keep still winning those games. Yeah.
But for game day to be there for the first time ever, they're definitely going to be hyped up.
So is App State the true definition of the coach's rehabilitation? Because they go there and they they take over and just keep it rolling.
Development center for sure.
I like that. All right, on to the next one here. Texas Tech at North Carolina State, who's number 16 in the nation. North Carolina State needs to cover 10.5 points here.
You know how I like my numbers, and 10.5 is a good number to take a dog. And Texas Tech just came off a big win in overtime over Houston. I know they're on the road, but this is an NC State team I have not been impressed with yet, and I thought I would be. And they were not good week one. A little better against a cupcake last week. So because of the number, I'm going to take Texas Tech to cover 10.5.
Todd, what do you got? Texas Tech, North Carolina State?
Yeah, I'm going to just take Texas Tech.
Leanne?
NC State.
Oh, all right. Moving right back to Brian, then we will. Let's go to, this is a big one here. Yeah, I hear the grumblings already. Mississippi State at LSU. LSU in Death Valley getting 2.5 points here.
See, I don't know what to do here because I would love to pick LSU so that way I would either win my bet or Mississippi State would win. I'd be happy.
Yeah,
so
hedge your bet.
I want to do that. I don't know. I didn't want to pick Mississippi State last week, and I did. And this is only 2.5.
Go with your guys.
Yeah, I'm taking State.
Oh,
Hail State.
So watch
Where's
now.
the cowbell?
Now.
Binga, 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 binga.
Y'all be glad I didn't bring it.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's been so long. I would give you a couple of rings. And I'm like, all right, that's it. No, I'm just kidding. Todd, what do you got for this game?
LSU's going to beat them by a touchdown.
Ooh,
could happen.
I'm actually going to put that down. I'm going to put 7 right there. Yeah, they're going to beat them by a touchdown.
I love it, man. I love it, Leanne. Where
Maroon and white all the way, no matter what. If we were playing Alabama, I'd probably. No, I wouldn't. You know, I'm going to pick them this time, though.
All right.
We're playing Brian Kelly, and that's another subject. We'll talk about that next time.
Well, we'll just see how Mississippi State does against that family. Number 13, Miami at number 24, Texas A&M, who just lost to App State. Miami, on the other hand, beat Southern Miss 30-7, I believe that score was. So Texas A&M needs to cover 5.5 points at Kyle Field. What do you got on this one, Brian?
This is a hard game to figure. I don't like the number for A&M. Miami's got an experienced quarterback who's playing well. Now, that being said, Miami traditionally has not been a good road team. So I'm getting 5.5. I'm just going to hold my nose, and I'm going to take Miami here.
All right, Todd, what do you like out of this game?
Yeah, I'm taking Miami as well.
Leanne, we're back to you.
Oh, my goodness, you guys. I'm picking Texas A&M. Number one, Jimbo has got to be upset about last weekend. So I guarantee you they're going to make some corrections and work hard this week. Plus, every time Miami is ranked high at the beginning, they always just blow it.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry, Eric with the A.
Yeah, he just gave you a great compliment.
I know. I'm so sorry. And let me tell you, my family loves Miami. My sister lives down there. Gavin, they're big Miami fans, Miami Hurricanes, and I cheer for Miami when they're not playing any of our teams. But I think A&M's going to come back. They're going to be at home. They're going to do what they do.
Does she get a prize for the worst record? On this I'm just asking.
No, I do good on my college football picks. I know.
All right.
But although Eric is not going to give any more compliments.
No, probably not. Not for at least for the rest of today. But when we get you back on, he'll be complimentary, of course. Let's go to this next one. I feel like there's some intrigue, at least for me in this game. UTSA, who had a great season last year, and to this point, really, I mean, a 2-point loss to Houston puts a little damper there. But they're on the road in Austin playing number 21 Texas. Texas is giving 11.5 points here. Brian, what do you see?
I actually love UTSA in this game. I think Texas is going to have a letdown coming out of that game. That was a huge emotional game that carried them. They don't have Quinn Ewers to start, and it's just not going to be the same. And UTSA plays tough.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think UTSA not only – I can't say they're going to win outright, but it wouldn't shock me, but they will definitely cover 11.5.
Todd, what do you see from this game?
Yeah, I'm taking Texas on that one. I think that they're good. I mean, I just do.
Leanne?
Yeah, after last weekend, I mean, I was impressed with their defense.
Coming on to the next game. This one's a big one, especially for people around in this area. We're not going to have it on the air because we have Leon at Mosley this Friday. But FSU at Louisville, in Louisville, and Louisville's getting 2.5 points here, Brian.
I'm not feeling as good about this game with every day that goes forward. Louisville looked terrible in their first game. Had a great comeback in the second half against a pretty good UCF team. And that is a tough place to play, but FSU's had a week off. They're not going to be dealing with any lag coming out of the LSU game. They got to work on some things, get a little healthy. I'm going to take FSU here, but with every passing minute, I feel less confident about this one.
Todd?
Yeah, I gotta take FSU.
FSU? I like that pick, man. This is going to be a game with a lot of intrigue.
Well, it's 2.5. I mean, FSU.
It's a pick 'em too. Yeah, 100%. Leanne, what do you like in this game?
I mean, I feel good about FSU in the direction they're going, actually. And I'm not an FSU fan, per se.
Final one that we've got on the docket for week 3, number 11, Michigan State is at Washington. Washington is a 3.5-point favorite. Make it make sense, Brian.
It's weird looking when you go there, and they're unranked against 11th ranked Michigan State. It's a bad number, but I like this Washington team at home against a Michigan State team that I do not think is going to be that good this year. I haven't thought it since the preseason, and I still haven't seen anything to tell me any differently. Washington, that's a long travel. I liked this game as a pick. I hate the number, but I'm still going to stick with Washington at 3.5.
Whoa, Todd, what do you got in this one?
I think, well, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Michigan, I think, is going to win the game. I really do. But I'm going to follow Brian's lead. I'm going to follow Brian's lead on this one.
All
I'm
right.
going to pick one that's different than I normally would pick.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is Eddie's on board with us too, so we're all going down in flames.
Oh, well, of course that doesn't.
Well, yeah, that's an anti-Smarty pick. Yeah.
Leanne, what do you like out of this Michigan State-Washington game?
This was hard for me, actually, for all the reasons that have just been said, but I've decided to go ahead and just pick Michigan State, so we'll see.
All right, good stuff there, everybody. We've got our picks in. Make sure that you leave the sheet with us or take a picture of it if you need to remember what you got going on. It's Oktoberfest with ESPN Northwest Florida. Join Destination Panama City for that Friday, September 23rd at 6 p.m. Destination Panama City Visitor Center is where it's at. We're kicking the event off with beer tasting, plus you got live music and food trucks. Tickets are $45, but we here at ESPN Northwest Florida have your chance to win free tickets. Listen to Coach Hale at 7:45 a.m. and the Afternoon Underdogs at 5:15 on Monday, September 19th and Tuesday the 20th for a chance to win free Oktoberfest armbands. We're going to be right back with Todd Mueller talking some coins and cards from PCB Coins and Cards.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Here's what's happening.
Listeners in Northwest Florida and South Alabama, be prepared. It's hurricane season. We're collecting items residents here and around the country will need in the event of a hurricane. Toiletries, garbage bags, diapers, over-the-counter medicines, clothing, batteries, first aid. Items can be dropped off at our new offices on the beach. 204 Ellen Lane, Suite B, Panama City Beach, 32408. Hurricane Relief America is sponsored by Event Production, Blab TV, and ESPN Northwest Florida.
My forecast for this afternoon, partly to mostly sunny in the mid to upper 80s, light northeast winds. The water temperature in the Gulf is 85. Mostly clear around 68 tonight. Pretty good chance of a few showers, maybe a thunderstorm Thursday and Friday. Highs in the mid to upper 80s. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. For 104.3 and 102.1 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, you know why we're here. The football season is back! Woo! That means those pregame barbecues with an ice-cold Pepsi? Totally back. Your perfectly placed football-watching corner seat back and comfy as ever. 18 Sundays of touchdown scoring, Hail Mary throwing, ice-cold Pepsi flowing football action. You better believe it's back. And since that's too amazing to miss a single second's worth, Pepsi is officially giving you permission to always put football first. And when we say always, we mean always. Like when your lawn is looking less like a lawn and more like a jungle. If the game's on, then the lawnmower ain't. And those gutters you haven't cleaned, today is not their day. Or maybe those in-laws are back in town. Well, better hope they're football fans because your Sunday is completely booked. Long story short, crack open a Pepsi and don't let anything get between you and your football watching. With love, Pepsi, made for football watching. That's what I like.
Game days are always better at Dave & Buster's. That's because more TV inches, more food and drinks, more space, and more fun make the game we all know and love more special. Nothing beats seeing your favorite team take the field on the two 12-foot big screens or 26 75-inch TVs. Throw in the arcade experience and you've got a winning atmosphere that no other sports bar can deliver. Follow the fun at Dave & Buster's Panama City Beach on Facebook and Instagram. Eat, drink, play, and watch sports at Dave & Buster's.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. From Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge. We are live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back from the Rib Crib Radio Room. We've got Todd Mueller in the building with us. He just made his picks, but now we're talking coins and cards. He is with the owner of PCB Coins and Cards. You and Todd and Bill are. So make sure you go out there and check them out on Back Beach, right over there by Florida Linens. Amazing store. Todd, what's going on? What's the latest and greatest going on with PCB Coins and Cards?
Well, I'd like to say hello to everybody. Good to see y'all and hear y'all today. Hopefully you all are doing good. We are having a fantastic time. We have been busy, and mainly we've been busy on Whatnot. It's been crazy. Been doing a lot of advertising with everybody and been seeing a lot of customers come through the door. Guy came in yesterday, said, I heard you on ESPN. I listened to those guys. And I was like, great, that's awesome. So getting a lot of local traffic in the door. So super excited about that. I want to thank everybody who's been coming in. All the locals. The coin business has really been turning up lately, so super excited about that and super happy. Card business is doing good. I see here that we have a couple awesome sales on some high-end cards that just came up this last week, and that's good. It's good for the industry. And football, NFL is back. My favorite. I tell everybody that all the time. That's my favorite. Don't really have a favorite, so to speak, team. Usually like to see the Saints win. So I did watch some of that game, and am super excited to watch some football. So anyways, that's what's going on. It's been pretty busy, like I said. We got a lot of new coin inventory. I actually bought an old collection today. I got some vintage football and baseball cards that came through the door. Guy from up north. Brian's like, and there was a lot of cool cards in it. Found a really, really cool card of Joe Namath. And so I'm not going to say much more than that other than come to the shop, and I will show you what I got. So everybody who's out there into vintage, who loves NFL football, come take a look at a really cool card.
Yeah, I've been a Bama fan my whole life, lived in the state of Alabama, and been in this business. That's the first one of those I've ever held.
Yep. So, first one I've ever held too. So pretty exciting, a lot of fun, and got some really, really neat stuff. But not super high value, but just neat stuff that you don't see every day. So very excited about that. So come take a look. And we're not doing a promotion. I want to let everybody know we're not doing a promotion this month. But come and take a look anyways what we got. We got a lot of boxes. We're keeping everything stocked up. And again, you tourists out there that happen to catch the show, come on by. When we got lots of great stuff. Anyways, so that's kind of what's been going on with us. Like I said, I have a sheet here that someone so kindly printed out about Justin Herbert. So I have a small story about this.
Okay, I love stories.
Yeah. So basically, a Herbert rookie, two of them actually sold for over $1 million, which is awesome, and I appreciate this information. The reason that's awesome is, again, showing a healthy market, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, do you notice when that was sold? Last week. You notice when NFL started last week. So there is some logistical reasons why certain cards get sold at certain times. And so ultimately this was one of them. Herbert's coming off of a great year, first year, and people are loving him. And just like they're liking some of the other quarterbacks, of course, a lot of people like Patrick Mahomes, and people like Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert, of course, is one of those. And so I think a lot of people are excited about him this year, which is awesome. And so this was perfectly sold.
Yep.
Perfectly. And so to have 2 cards of his go over $1 million, fantastic.
I got a question about that. So, like, they're betting on this guy to be really good, have a great career.
Correct.
And what happens if he doesn't?
That's the
So
gamble.
these people are taking
You just
a
hit it.
huge risk.
You just hit it. And so that's why I tell you right there, this is a prime example. Well, I'll take this every day over someone new. And there's a reason why. Because this guy probably not going to mess anything up ever again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and if you just look at the scuttle that's going on right now in the card industry about not as much Mac Jones, but Trey Lance didn't really show out week 1.
I
And
know.
there was a lot of hype on him going in.
Ton of hype. There's been a ton of hype on Mac Jones, Trey Lance. There's been a ton of hype on. I mean, I understand Herbert is new, but is 1 year old, and so is Burrow. But there's just a ton of hype on all those guys. Even Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. Even him. There's been some hype on him, and it's like, you guys, you could lose. You could
that's
lose.
it. They're darlings while they're rookies, because we're still getting Zach Wilson hype, for God's sake.
Correct.
But they're darlings while they're rookies. This is the first time they're not rookies anymore.
Right.
And yeah, there was some worry going on.
So this is
out
my
there.
story.
Yeah.
So this year, Bill said, "Hey, we're doing a fantasy football." I was like, "Oh boy, I don't have time for that." He's like, "No, just you and I'll do it together against a bunch of my guys that we used to work with." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So we sit down, and he's got all these printouts and all this stuff, and we're sitting down in our back patio, and we're smoking a cigar, and we're talking about, okay, who should we pick, and da 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 da. And so we actually picked Justin Herbert. So we're Herbert and Ernie, I believe, is what our team name is.
My buddy Boston Tim in a league with me has the same exact name
Herbert
as well.
and Ernie. So we've got Justin Herbert as a quarterback. Very happy, but it's interesting, and what I wanted to talk about a little bit today for a few minutes is how fantasy football changes your view on watching live football. It changes your view. So our backup is Russell Wilson. Well, of course, we wanted Herbert to play, so we didn't have Wilson in. And so Wilson did okay, but we're glad to have Herbert. But then you're sitting there. We got Jamar Chase as our
top wide receiver.
Top wide receiver. And so we wanted Burrow to just smoke it and throw as much to Jamar as possible, and he did. Yet they lost. We don't care that they lost. See?
Yeah.
So that's the sad thing. But on the card side of me says, no.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert needs to win. Joe Burrow needs to win. Yeah. He needs to win because I got a ton of rookie cards and I want people to come in and buy them and I want the value to go up. So this being in the industry and the business is so fantastic and fun because it totally changes the way you see these guys and almost as a commodity as what they can do for you, what they can do for your business, what can they do for your bragging rights. I mean, you name it, it's out there. So I just thought that was really fun, and I was thinking a lot about that lately. How fantasy football changes things for you, and how it changes things for somebody who happens to be in the card business.
Yeah, I love that take. Real quick, I've got something to ask on top of that that correlates with that. But Richard Gibbons Sr. texted in and said, just curious, ask him if he's ever seen a valuable card that's been ruined in a clear epoxy table at a restaurant, like at a certain pizza and subs place.
Great question. Have not personally. However,
people probably snap you pictures all the time.
Yeah, not personally have I seen one ruined, but I'm sure it's happened for sure. And then number two, I actually bought a card on eBay one time. I believe it was a 55 or 56 Mays. Beautiful. Oh, no, Hank Aaron. It was a Hank Aaron card on eBay. Beautiful card. It was an auctioneer company that was selling on eBay for people, so it wasn't a collector. And I ended up stealing the card for like $50. I got it. Well, they didn't know how to ship it. They didn't have it in a top loader. They had put it between two pieces of cardboard untaped. It fell out and creased in half.
Yep.
They gave me my money back, but
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It
that
ruined
wasn't the point.
an iconic card. It ruined an iconic card. So I have seen something happen where, yes, an iconic card has been ruined, and it makes me sick.
Well, and what we've learned now, at least I have coming back into the industry 30 years ago, screw down cases were considered perfect.
Right.
The great way to protect your cards. And what we've come to find out now is that it compressed them to the point that a lot of them aren't gradable.
Number one. Number two, because...
Or they stick.
Yeah. Right. And so the early 90s, 91, 92, they started doing these cards that had this very shiny film on them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so a prime example would be a Shaquille O'Neal rookie card.
Mm-hmm.
And you put it in one of those plastic holders where you screw them down. When you go to unscrew them and pull them up, the front of the card comes off.
Yep.
Yeah. So...
Do you think they'll ever run into anything like that with slabs and stuff?
No, because they're put in a polyplastic soft sleeve first, and then they're actually inserted in the PSA or BGS graded holder. So no, there shouldn't be an issue with that. But so I've seen damage over and so to answer your question, no, I haven't personally seen one out at a restaurant or anything, but I have personally seen cards damaged to unbelievably damaged, and for no reason but carelessness.
So I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about with the excitement that comes with not only being involved in sports cards, right, but then fantasy football adds that excitement as well. But like you said, it's a totally different world when you're in the card business. Right. What does the fluctuation look like from week to week? Like, so how much does that change the stock when Joe Burrow loses like that?
You're usually talking 10% one way or the other.
Wow.
So you can sit there and say, okay, a standard Prism rookie card graded a 9, let's call it, sells for, let's say, $70 one week. He doesn't have a good week. It's, you see him drop down to $60, $63. You see him have a couple fantastic weeks. All of a sudden, he's back up to $75, $80. It's one of those things where I think they said a quarterback, I don't think there's ever been a quarterback that went to the Super Bowl his first time and then ever came back to the Super Bowl again. I want to say that that's a thing. And so if that's true, let's call that true, that my trivia is correct, that I want to see him go back to the Super Bowl. I want to see him in the Super Bowl. I want to see him win the Super Bowl. And I want to see for something monstrous like that, because his cards will go through the roof. I mean, it will be ridiculous in our business. And so I want excitement. So when I'm watching this stuff, when I'm rooting for this stuff, it's because I want the industry to be excited. And the only way an industry is going to be excited, look, if every year Tom Brady wins, the industry is not going to be excited. I got news for you.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. Tom Brady lovers will love it, but the rest of the industry will be like,
Well, and for me, the thing I always found difficult, and it sounds crazy, but so you buy a card for $20 and you sell it for $40. You've doubled your money.
Right.
But then a year later, that card's worth $60. And you kick yourself for not holding on for $60. We got to be able to put that aside and realize I was comfortable with the price that I got for it. I made money on it. I'm okay.
Here's the biggest question. So I'm a business guy, my nature, love business, could talk about business for hours with you guys, but I'm not going to do that to you. But let me just say this quickly, that I believe that in business, it's all about averages. And so my take on what you just said, Brian, is exactly that.
Yeah.
If you can double your money now, what did you do with the $20 that you made?
Right.
Till when, by the time you could have sold it for $60, did you take that $20 and make another $40, $80, $140 with it? And I'm about averages. So I'm one of those guys that doesn't hold very long unless it's vintage. And I don't hold very long. I try to sell what I can sell and make my profit, because in the end, you can do another deal. And you can do another deal.
Yes.
And you can do another deal. And then by the time it comes around and you can sit there, silver's no different than that. You sit there and somebody say, yeah, but silver went up, $10 an ounce. If you would have held on to all that silver all that time, you would have made so much money. Yeah, but I made more money because I flipped it and kept flipping it and kept flipping it than I would have if I would have held out till it made $10 an ounce.
And just real quickly, that's the best advice I was ever given, and it came from this business, but it's about anything business related.
Right.
the same thing on the back end. So many people get caught up in, I got $100 in this card, I can't sell it for 90.
Oh, you can.
Sure you can.
You can.
You sell it for 90 because if you have something that $90 could do better in
Correct.
than your sinking card,
Correct.
do it.
Right.
Get past
Correct.
the fact that you lost $10 and invest
I
that
tell
90
to
and
people
make
all
more.
the time in the coin industry. And the number two thing that you have to think about is being able to cost average on what it is that you're doing. So if you say you're going to buy a group of cards, let's call it 50 cards, and you lose on 30% of them, but you gain on 70% of them. So overall your net is 15-20% profit. Don't cry about that. 15 to 20, where can you get 15 to 20% profit anywhere these days? Banks give you 1%. Come on.
That's a great point.
And if you do that within a month or a month and a half's time, you can't beat that. So people, I think, logistically don't look at the big picture and don't look at averages. You got to look at the average. That's my business mojo for today.
Speaking of things you can't beat PCB, coins and cards. Y'all get out there. It's on Back Beach over there by Florida Linden. Slight U-turn if you're headed out west, but it is, man, first off, just with the teasings today that they gave you, you got to go check out what's in the red box that Todd was slightly showing on the Facebook feed today. PCB, coins and cards, Todd Mueller.
Yeah, just be nice and ask me to move out of the way if you want to see this.
Or you can
I'm
just
going to be looking at it all day.
Give him a slight shove. All right. Hey, Todd, thank you so much for giving us some of your time this afternoon. Also, guys, tonight we've got the Paul Feinbaum Show. A quick update here on the Atlanta Braves. And the score is 4-1 in the bottom of the ninth. Actually, that's the final. The Giants have won 4-1 over the Atlanta Braves. Paul Feinbaum tonight. College football is about to heat up, and so are the callers. Weeknights 6 to 10 when we don't have any live sports going on. We'll be right back with Steve Barnes.
Weather in Northwest Florida can change on a dime.
Gale force winds bombarded with heavy rain.
That's why 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has the most up-to-date forecast on the Gulf Coast. Hi, this is staff meteorologist Tim Root with over 40 years of experience. I know just how fast we can go from sun and fun to a serious situation. For the most accurate and detailed weather when it matters, rely on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. Wow, what a brain! No, I'm not talking about the class valedictorian or the scarecrow after he reached Oz. This brain's inside your car. When I come back, I'll tell you all about it.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likas Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Einstein's got nothing on your car's ECM or electronic control module. Like human brains, ECMs gather data from the environment and make adjustments to optimize performance. For example, this onboard computer adapts fuel delivery, seat positions, cabin temperature, braking, and emissions. It also alerts you to potential problems and notifies you for service. Like all brains, your ECM's sensitive to environmental abuse. So follow the Scarecrow's lead. Take your ECM for scheduled service to the Oz Service Center of your choice. I'm Bobby Likas. Like us, you'll love us.
The Beach Care Services dinner is back. The last dinner was in 2019 due to COVID, and the charity has felt the impact. But Beach Care Services is beyond excited for the return of Dinner on the Bay. This fun, family-friendly event features a 3-course dinner, block party, $5,000 cash raffle, and jewelry raffle. Join our community for a night of fun, October 4th from 5 to 9 at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant. Proceeds go to helping our locals in times of need. Tickets available on Eventbrite under Dinner on the Bay.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back. We're in the Rib Crib Radio Room, and we are going to get rock and rolling. We just had Todd Mueller in with PCB Coins and Cards. Y'all make sure to go check out what we were teasing about today at PCB Coins and Cards on Back Beach, right there next to Florida Linens. We've got Steve Barnes on the line with us. He's a senior writer for the rebelwalk.com, and if you haven't checked out the rebelwalk.com and got into his articles and the rest of the great content that the rebelwalk.com puts on, you're missing out. Steve, what's going on?
I'm feeling a little outnumbered here with Brian and Leanne, a couple of state people and just one little Ole Miss guy here.
Well,
Leanne bailed, so it's
okay, well, I'm feeling
again.
better.
Yeah, it's just 1v1.
Well, we got Miles, so it is 2v1, but
Before we get into Ole Miss and Mississippi State here, Troy and App State, break this game down for us, and what do you think happens in Boone this weekend with game day being there?
Well, this is the definition of a trap game for App State. They have the big win at A&M. They have trouble with their travel back home. They actually spend the night in a motel in Texas and didn't have rooms. They were sleeping in the conference rooms and the hallways, common areas, then got home. You've got everybody telling them how great they are. I'm sure the SID's, calendar is good for 2 years for interview requests. Then they find out game day's coming. So you've got all these distractions. But luckily, Troy's still trying to find itself. So I think App State's going to be okay. And the next week after that, James Madison comes to Boone. So, they need to look out. And I've heard from App State fans this year booking their trips to the Fiesta Bowl, the Cotton Bowl. But I got bad news. Have you seen the last month of your schedule, guys? In the month of November, the last 3 or the 4 on the road, at Coastal Carolina, at Marshall. You get Old Dominion at home, but they beat Virginia Tech. Then you go to Georgia Southern.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that the
enjoy
other
it now.
day.
Yeah.
But I think they won it because of Chase Bryce, that quarterback. I talked to some people from the Senior Bowl, and they said this week they've been getting calls from all kind of NFL teams saying, you need to invite this kid. He's just not an FBS quarterback. He played for 3 years at Clemson.
Right.
And back in 18 when they went 15-0, if you'll remember, Trevor Lawrence missed a game against Syracuse. It looked like they were going to lose it. Here comes Bryce, leads a fourth quarter comeback. They win that game. I think it was like 27-23. And boom, they're national championships. They're national champions. And he's not stupid. He's got a BS from Clemson, and he's got a master's from Duke.
Pretty smart guy they got. Steve, do you think Georgia Tech gives Ole Miss any problems this weekend?
Well, Ole Miss is still trying to find themselves too, but I think Ole Miss's running game's good enough to win the game. But if you remember, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I had written a piece on what out-of-conference game the SEC should look for. And by the way, I picked App State over Texas A&M in that one, and also Mizzou. You better look out for Kansas State. Both those happened to fruition. But this was the one I picked for Troy because the other 3 out of conference were, 2 Group of 5s and an FCS. So this is the first time they go on the road. First time they play in FBS, but Georgia Tech, I just don't think they can stop Ole Miss's running game.
I like it. And I also like the weekend wrap-up that you have up on the rebelwalk.com, and your categories really stuck out to me. You had the cool games, the games that they went how we thought, the sort of embarrassing games, the semi-embarrassings, and the symbols. I'll use that for the lack of a better word there. What was your favorite category to write about this past week?
Oh, it was the what do you know what? Simply because I heard so many Alabama fans in the offseason say, well, you know what? If our wide receivers didn't get hurt, we win the national championship. We beat Georgia. Well, you know what? Texas doesn't lose their starting quarterback to a late hit, and their second-string quarterback hitting on one leg. Texas beats you, so you can't have it one way and not the other.
Yeah, I love that. And
come on, Steve. How many Alabama fans have you known? Yes, we can.
He goes on to say in his article, now Nick Saban can tell his team they're being disrespected. Oh, good stuff. Steve, Hendon Hooker, the Tennessee Volunteers, I mean, Hendon was lights out for them, but they still had to battle and win that game in overtime. What did you take away from that particular game, and what does that mean for the Volunteer season moving forward?
I think Hooker and Cedric Tillman are the best quarterback wide receiver combo in the conference. And if they can get a semblance of a running game to balance it out and get a tight end in there or a slot receivers to take some of the pressure off of Tillman trying to run every route to get a touchdown, I've got them as the third best team in the West, in the East. I think Georgia number 1, Kentucky 2, Tennessee 3. And this one's going to shock Brian to death. But in the West, I got Alabama 1, Arkansas 2, Mississippi State 3.
Wow. So the only ranked matchup this weekend is Miami, Texas A&M. If Texas A&M's offense doesn't pick it up this weekend with Haynes King, do you see Jimbo putting in another quarterback, or do you think he's going to ride it out with his guy?
I think he should. I'm not sure he will, but I think he should. But, I mean, Jimbo, he's always kind of been, hey, I made my decision, I'm sticking with it. So you don't know, but I think if they don't beat Miami, the word around College Station is going to be buyout.
It may very well be. I don't know how serious it'll be. I'm of the opinion personally, the best thing that could happen for Texas A&M would be to have another 8-4 year, and by Game 7 have Connor Wegman as your starter. Because that's going to make them so much better for next year when I think all of their talent really lays in there. I think that would be the best thing in the world because next year to me is A&M's year.
Well, look at what LSU did. They lost to Troy at home, and they had Miles Brennan, who started the game. He's going to be like the guy.
Yep.
And what they did was the rest of that year, they started putting pieces in the offense. Then they got Joe Burrow in there, and Joe Burrow had a lot of pieces around him. And even Orgeron said it after the national championship game. He said the turnaround was losing to Troy.
Yep. No, I agree. I think Wegman, I think he needs to get some meaningful play this year before next year because I just don't think King is the guy. He's too loose with the football. And I've never been a big Max Johnson guy. They've got to find a way to get him on the field this year to set them up for next year.
Well, the other thing about A&M is they sort of like Alabama in a little way. They looked undisciplined.
Yeah.
And you don't usually see that from especially Alabama. I mean, Alabama, 15 penalties. And, I admit it, I vote for the Outland Trophy. And before the season started, I already had Will Anderson's name penciled in at the top.
Sure.
Well, thank goodness for erasers. Because, he's only got 10 tackles on the year, and I think it's frustrating him. But that penalty that he got, the kid was down for 2-3 seconds, was getting up, then he hit him. And then he looked around like, what? What did I do?
Yeah.
I think that's getting to him. So, I mean, I've erased his name. I'm looking right now at a kid from Oklahoma named Reggie Grimes. He's only got 7 tackles, but 5 are for loss, and he's got 4 other sacks. And now he gets to go against Nebraska this week. So he's going to pump up some numbers. But Will Anderson's going to have to, I would say step it up because he's running all over the field, but he's going to have to play smarter.
Yeah. Be on sides.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. I think it is getting to him. I think it's been – this is probably the wrong way to phrase it. It's been easy for him the last couple of years, and it's just not as easy. I mean,
people are game planning against him.
Exactly. And another guy I'd probably keep my eye on for that award might be Jared Verse at Florida State. Now we'll see this weekend, if he continues. But I think against LSU, I think he had 2 sacks and 2.5 tackles for loss.
That's going to be that's going to be a good ball game Friday night. Is Louisville and FSU.
It should be, absolutely.
Hey, Steve, let us take a break. Do you mind hanging on with us for our final segment of the day?
Sure, we can do that.
All right, sounds good. We've got Steve Barnes on the line, senior writer for therebelwalk.com. Highly encourage you guys to go check out that website. And, man, they've got great stuff all the way around there. And when we get back, we'll continue it on with Steve Barnes.
This is your captain speaking. Thank you for flying with ESPN Northwest Florida. Please return to your seats, buckle up, and prepare for launch.
It will lay down. Base hit. Here comes Ronald. Braves win it.
The defending World champion Atlanta Braves are sponsored by Bill Burke Kia, Beltway Portable Buildings, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Ellis Agency Insurance, and ESPN Northwest Florida. And we apologize for any turbulence you've experienced this season with the Atlanta Braves.
Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullets, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Tire Brokers is your one-stop shop for all your auto repair needs. Whether you need an oil change, brake or engine repair, or tire and wheel services, the skilled technicians at Tire Brokers are trained to take care of it all. They even service commercial vehicles and farm and forestry equipment. Tire Brokers is dedicated to providing their customers with the very best auto repair service experience, including upfront and honest quotes, timely response to issues, and quality products and parts. Stop by the newest location in Panama City Beach at 506 Thomas Drive to let Tire Brokers earn your business and exceed your expectations.
Golf Plus is your premier golf shop on the Gulf Coast. Not a big box or a chain store, but a local store with golf experts to serve you. An amazing array of demo and fitting products, plus a professional repair shop that can handle anything from a basic re-grip to a full set of re-shafts and everything in between. Golf Plus has locations in Dothan and Panama City Beach to serve you. Come see them today for all your golf needs. Located next to Firefly at the shops at Edgewater. Call 850-249-2726.
Hi, I'm Kevin Shady with KHS & Associates. We represent private insurance providers using multiple nationwide PPO networks for pre-negotiated discounted rates and no copays, no co-insurance, and no deductibles. If you're interested in a quote, give us a call or text 502-386-1128 and provide us your zip code and the ages and gender of those to include. Call or text us at 502-386-1128. That's 502-386-1128.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. We are live and local. From Camp Helen State Park to the historic Martin Theater.
Definitely time to let our hair down and have some fun.
It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is the last segment of the day. You're listening on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida here in Panama City, 102.1 in Mariana, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Give me a second to move that out of my way. Goodness gracious. All right. Now let's get back to the line. We got Steve Barnes on the line with a senior writer for therebelwalk.com. What's the biggest thing that you're going to take away from Mississippi State and LSU this weekend?
Is Will Rogers what I think he is? Right now, I don't know why he is not getting more national attention. He threw for 450 in a game that was delayed how long in the middle of it by weather. It's tough to, come back and still be hot. And then the second game goes out to Arizona. It doesn't start until 10 o'clock Central Time. And by the time that thing was over, the only thing the telecast was competing with was reruns of Dateline NBC. So, he has not had a first two games that were easy, but now he gets LSU, and I'm interested to see how he does.
I know Miles is.
He's gonna put up big numbers with that. I think Michael Leach can finally. He's getting a little run game going. You can't just rush 3 now. You got to rush 4. So that's helping them out a lot this year.
And the thing that bothers me is everybody saying he's a system quarterback. Well, you know what? If the system's working, that's what he's supposed to do. You never heard about other positions. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, Mississippi Valley State had a run-and-shoot offense, but you never heard anybody say, Jerry Rice, he's a system receiver.
Right. Yeah.
Or USC used to run, they were tailback U was student body right. You never heard O.J. Simpson, Marcus Allen, Charles White. They're system running backs.
Right.
Depends on what system. You had a question you wanted to dig into.
Steve, I'm curious. All right, so we've had a game of Jackson Dart, and we've had a game of Luke Altmaier, and I know they were, not, big-time SEC battles, but after having seen one game each, is it enough of a sample size, or what have you seen that leads you to believe which way you'd want Lane Kiffin to go for the rest of the season.
Well, Altmaier, he went down in the first half last week, and the official diagnosis at first was a sprained clavicle. Well, I mean, I've broken my collarbone several times. In fact, I've had the end of it cut off and keep it from breaking again. It's a bone. You can't sprain a bone.
Right.
But now it's turned out it was probably the AC joint. I think that would have given Kiffin just, boom, there it is. Now you can just go ahead and say dart and be done with it. He's still not doing it. He's still saying, well, we're not sure yet. We're going to wait and see. And I think that's his way with the day of the transfer portal, and he plays as well as anybody else. What he's doing is he's recruiting his roster to stay. He knows if he says Dart is going to be my guy, Altmaier's going to start looking around. But you have to go with Dart right now because we don't know if Altmaier's 100%.
You have something else? Take the rankings out of it with Texas A&M being ranked in the top 10, even though that's the factor there. But which way is kind of worse to lose? A lot of people kind of had Missouri on their radar at the bare minimum, but they got beat by K-State 40-12, and Deuce Vaughn ran all over them. And then Texas A&M being upset by App State 17-14. Which way, if you're a player, which is the worst way to lose? I mean, a loss is a loss. I totally get that. But which way is the worst way to lose? Getting blown out or having that close loss where you just almost can't believe you lost at the end of the game?
I once covered a game at Kansas State, and when I was there, they had a running back named Darren Sproles. Deuce Vaughn is Darren Sproles. So this kid's legit. And I've also been on the losing end of both of those. When you get blown out, somewhere in the fourth quarter, it sinks in and you start looking ahead. When you lose, like A&M did, that's going to linger. Because people aren't saying who's next week. People are saying what happened to you. People are telling you Missouri's guys went back to Como, and their guys are going, okay, we're going to get them this week. So I think losing, it's kind of like pulling the Band-Aid off. When you already lost it, just yank the thing and you're good. But when you look like you're going to win, and then you don't, and then you get a shot, and you miss a field goal, and then they run 9 minutes off the clock, that is slowly pulling that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And we're about to have to peel the Band-Aid off here. Hey, Steve, thanks so much for giving us some of your time this afternoon.
Hey, guys, enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you next week. All right, Brian, real quick, got about a minute left in the show here. Give us a update. We'll save the best for last here. Give us an update on the swim world here in Bay County.
Well, not to make a pun here, but I think I finally dried out from the monsoon we were in Saturday. We had over 400 kids from Pensacola to Tallahassee, and meet was going okay. We had a delay early, and then finally ended up about two-thirds of the way through the meet. We had to cancel it when it really got nasty. But, kids did really well and performed well. Now, Arnold is going on the road to Bowles for an event this weekend. And Mosley, North Bayhaven Bay, and Fort Walton's going to come over, and they're having a meet at Frank Brown tomorrow night. So, in fact, I think the diving's going on right now. So, just getting further into the season and just getting better. You can definitely see improvement out of the kids, and we'll see if this sets them up for a good run through district, region, and state.
How long does the swim season normally last?
Well, it's kind of staggered. The 1A and 2As are one weekend, and then the next weekend, depending on the year, would be 3A and 4A. So it's usually done by the middle of November.
Okay.
So, but
I was about to say, I mean, I could only imagine. Well, in November, we still have pretty good weather around here, but the cold kind of trickles into February, April, May.
It can be tough sometimes. We've had a few cases with that where it's been a little bit chilly when the regional has been here. But the state meets down in Stuart, Florida, so usually it's not too cold. We've had a few where there was a snap, but when the problem is it's an outdoor facility. You got weather that comes in. So we'll see, but it'll be down in beautiful downtown Stuart once again.
All right. Well, we're going to weather the storm until tomorrow. Coach James Hale shows live at 7 a.m. We'll be back at 4 tomorrow. Paul Feinbaum from 6 to 10 this evening. Make sure you're listening on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, 102.1 Mariana, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe.
I love to
ESPN